Welcome in, 9 weeks in the books. We're going into week 10. We got some wild situations in the divisions, a crazy playoff race to look at, and also what the toilet bowl bracket looks like about now. But let's take a look at the results from week 9, as well as the high score and low score of the week.
In our game of the week, Dan's dementia kicked in, and he can't remember what to call his team again. However, he did get a humongous win over Jared, 161.14 to 122.16. Jared had a big start to the matchup with Garrett Wilson's Thursday night performance, only to have Jackson Smith in Jigba shit on his dreams. Dan moves to 6-3 on the season, while Jared falls to 4-5. Jordan improves to 5-4 on the season as he got a big win over Tyler, 114.74 to 99.06. J.K. Dobbins and Chase Brown ran wild for Jordan, while Kyron Williams and Jamar Chase failed to show up for Tyler. Tamara escaped her matchup against Brody and Jake with a win 130.48 to 120.54. A.J. Brown getting hurt for Brody and Jake proved to be killer, on top of underwhelming performances from Keenan Allen and Mark Andrews. Tamara improves to 6-3 and remains just 2 games behind Craig. EJ had a giant performance against Trent, winning 152.24 to 87.3. Saquon and Henry went crazy, per usual, and EJ moves to just 1 game below 500. Trent now has a 1% chance to make the playoffs. 1 more loss will likely do the trick. Hayden's generational fall continues, as he got his ass absolutely diddied by Travis, 177.66 to 123.06. Travis just continues to win, and he is now 6-3, and still sits atop the Avengers division. Hayden's losing streak is now up to 5 games. Something's gotta give. In the final matchup, Craig snuck away from a trap game against Josh, 122.9 to 116.26. It came down to Monday night, essentially DeAndre Hopkins against Patrick Mahomes, and Hopkins found the end zone twice for a big night. Craig moves to 8-1, and Josh falls to 2-7. For the second time this year, Travis gets the high score of the week, putting up an insane 177.66 points. He continues to impress in just his second season owning his own team.
God knows I don't need the rest of them. Look at him, he's useless.
All right. For the first time this year, Trent is the low scorer of the week behind a ridiculously weak score of 87.3 points. Fantasy football is just not his friend this year as things continue to just spiral out of control. With just 5 games remaining, we see Travis, Tyler, and Craig at the top of their divisions. For the Avengers, Dan is on Travis's tail, with the head-to-head game coming into play in Travis's favor. Josh and Trent are in desperation mode, praying for a miracle. Over in the Suicide Squad, all 4 teams are knotted at 4-5, but Tyler being undefeated against his division foes is crucial and gives him the division lead. This one is still up for grabs among all 4 teams. And in the Fantastic Four, Craig is 2 games up on Tamara, 3 up on Jordan, and 4 up on EJ. We saw an entire division make the postseason in 2023, and if a division is going to do it this year, it seems like it could very well be the Fantastic Four. The current playoff picture shows us Craig and Travis getting the first-round byes. Then the first-round matchups consist of Tyler versus Jordan and Dan versus Tamara. With the playoffs also comes the toilet bowl bracket. This is almost certain to change with how tight the Suicide Squad division is, but going into Week 10, we see Jared taking on Trent, Brody and Jake taking on Josh, and Hayden taking on EJ, where the 3 losers will compete in a 2-week triple threat match.
Week 10 gives us our 4th week of divisional matchups. We got some great matchups all across the board, and let's take a look at what we got.
In our game of the week, we have the only matchup featuring two teams with records above 500, Tamara and Jordan.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Tamara is coming into the game off of a big win against Brody and Jake, while Jordan is coming off a win against the leader of the Suicide Squad, Tyler. This is a big matchup in the Fantastic Four, as neither team can really afford a loss in the playoff race, with Jordan currently the 6th seed and Tamara the 5th seed. In the other Fantastic Four game, we have Craig, who has been red hot all year at 8-1, taking on EJ, who has one of the highest scoring teams, but finds himself sitting at 4-5. A loss wouldn't be the end of the world for EJ, but best case scenario looks to be a win and a Jordan loss to tie him up record-wise with Jordan in the division. In the first Suicide Squad matchup, Brody and Jake are taking on Jared. The last time these two met, Jared had a ridiculous 158-point week, getting the better of the dynamic duo. This is a huge game for the division, as whoever wins will at least be tied record-wise for the division lead. The loser, on the other hand, will be one game back and tied with one other team in the division. In the other Suicide Squad matchup, we have the current leader, Tyler, taking on Hayden, who hopes for a different result than when these two met in Week 5, where Tyler had a 37-point win. The winner of this will be tied record-wise with the winner of Brody and Jake versus Jared for the division lead. Should Tyler win, he will remain in the division lead, as he would be 4-0 in his division. If Hayden wins, he would only have the division lead if Jared wins. If Brody and Jake win, along with Hayden, then Brody and Jake would find themselves atop the division. In our first matchup in the Avengers division, we have the division leader, Travis, taking on Josh, who is on very thin ice in terms of staying alive in the division race. A loss would mathematically eliminate Josh from the division race, while Travis needs a win to stay on top. A loss would mean he would need Dan to lose to stay in the division lead. The other game in the Avengers division features Dan taking on Trent. A win by Dan or Travis mathematically eliminates Trent from the division race and likely from the playoff race. Dan, meanwhile, needs a win, and Travis lost to take the lead for the Avengers. That does it for this week's matchups. Back to you in the studio.
It looks like it's going to be a tight race all the way to the end. Only 6 playoff spots up for grabs, while the other 6 fight to stay off of the karaoke stage. Good luck to everyone this divisional week except Hayden. I'll see a lot of you this weekend as we get to watch some football over here in Ruskin. We'll talk next week and we'll see how everything's shaping up.